It occurred to me that without charging a crime, Congress is actually slandering the president. Without any further ado, here's the background and then the video I did the other day at the end. And I added the antiphonal parts to listening to that long 11-hour debate. You don't have 11 hours of it, just the basic arguments that were repetitive.
Who seems to believe he is a king or above the law.
Then charge him with a crime.
My faith leads me to take very seriously the final words of our oath to faithfully discharge the duties of the office, so help me God.
Then charge him with a crime.
Speaker, I come to impeachment with deep sadness. The facts of this case are painful and indisputable.
Then charge him with a crime.
We know that the president illegally held up congressionally appropriated aid to the Ukraine.
Then charge him with a crime.
We know that he conditioned the release of this aid on Ukrainian President Zelensky's opening an investigation based on a debunked conspiracy theory about his political rival and foreign interference in the 2016 election.
Then charge him with a crime.
We also know that the president has actively blocked congressional attempts to determine the extent of his misconduct by ordering executive branch officials to defy subpoenas and withhold information.
Then charge him with a crime.
Despite the unprecedented obstruction from the president, the evidence in this case is powerful enough that to delay this vote any further would risk interference in the 2020 election.
Then charge him with a crime.
And the permanent erosion of our system of checks and balances.
Then charge him with a crime.
Madam Speaker, this is not a matter of politics.
Then charge him with a crime.
This is a matter of protecting the integrity of our democracy for the next generation.
Then charge him with a crime.
Voting to impeach the president is a weighty decision. It is not something you reach for. It's something you are brought to reluctantly when the evidence presented can no longer be denied.
Then charge him with a crime.
In this sober and historic moment, members of Congress are called upon to uphold our oath of office and our duty to the Constitution. Today, we answer that call.
Then charge him with a crime.
The President's actions compromise the national security of the United States.
Then charge him with a crime. Next, we have the case against impeachment in a nutshell.
The majority has thrown almost every allegation imaginable against this president. and yet these articles of impeachment that have been submitted cannot name a single actual crime. After all the drama, the majority has not found a single shred of evidence, only second, third, fourth-hand information, but the facts have remained the same. The transcript speaks for itself. There was no quid pro quo. The Ukrainian government said multiple times they felt no pressure whatsoever. The aid ultimately came, and even Speaker Pelosi said that this whole thing would have compelling, overwhelming bipartisan support. None of those things exist. I urge my colleagues to stand against the rule and the forthcoming articles of impeachment. This is a disgrace and dangerous to America, and I urge a no.
He works for himself, not us. He tried to extort a foreign government into investigating a political rival.
Then charge him with a crime.
And he has unlawfully withheld witnesses and evidence.
Then charge him with a crime.
If we want a democracy, today we must stand for the rule of law.
How does the rule of law work if you don't charge a crime? These are supposed to be high crimes and misdemeanors that are high crimes. He's not even jaywalking. If you don't charge crimes, what you're left with is hearsay and slander. If you want to follow the rules of law using hearsay and slander and subject that to the test of the rule of law as being the only admissible facts. The facts are uncontested. You're about to hear Lee Zeldin talk about some of the contested facts. You've already heard from, I think it was Donna Shalala, about how the facts are uncontested. And you're about to hear a few more, but here's Lee. He's going to talk first. I should say Representative Zeldin.
He didn't want any quid pro quo, and that he was guessing when he stated otherwise. Ambassador Sondland, that is, said that he was guessing and that no one on the planet had told him otherwise. Ambassador Volker tells us that President Zelensky didn't know that there was a hold on aid on July 25th. He didn't find out until after he read it in Politico on July 29th. The aid got released shortly thereafter, and Ukraine didn't have to do absolutely anything in order to get the hold released. When our colleagues on the other side of the aisle says that the July 25th call transcript says, "Do me a favor," we have to correct it time and again. It says, "Do us a favor." And if you look at that paragraph, it's only about Ukrainians interfering in the 2016 election. Now, if you want to ignore the Charlie op-ed, Chalupa working with the Ukrainian embassy to dig up dirt, the Black Ledger to bring down the Trump campaign, whether it's Avakov's statement or origins of the Steele dossier, these are all examples. Look at Ken Vogel's reporting from January 2017. It is irrefutable. These are all substance. So stop saying that the facts are uncontested. I yield back.
Shocked because this president has routinely shown his disregard of Congress and the rule of law.
Then charge him with a crime.
The facts are not in dispute.
Avakov's statement or origins of the Steele dossier, these are all examples. Look at Ken Vogel's reporting from January 2017. It is irrefutable. These are all substance. So stop saying that the facts are uncontested. I yield back.
The president abused his power, defied the public's trust, and betrayed his oath of office.
Then charge him with a crime.
He undermined our elections by corruptly soliciting foreign interference in our elections to benefit his own future re-election efforts.
Then charge him with a crime.
Then he obstructed Congress every step of the way in an effort to cover it all up.
Then charge him with a crime.
Donald Trump has been and remains a threat to our national security.
Then charge him with a crime.
A clear danger to our democracy.
Then charge him with a crime.
And wholly unfit to serve as President of the United States.
Then charge him with a crime.
We have an obligation to act today to uphold the Constitution, but also to show our children and grandchildren that no one is above the law.
Don't you need to invoke the law by charging him with a crime so that he can be above, below, or equal to the law? Otherwise, he's presumed to be equal to the law, not above it. You have to charge him with a crime.
Madam Speaker, throughout this process, I listened as a member of the House Oversight Committee to career diplomats testify in depositions and found myself contemplating the gravity of this decision.
Debbie Wasserman Schultz. 2 servers, one that hacked Congress, another the DNC, wouldn't turn it over to the FBI because I'm not sure. Debbie Wasserman Schultz is contemplating Ambassador St. Yovanovitch and Vindman without knowing that the 5-star is involved. I can say that, I think. Of course, Schiff didn't subpoena me, did he? And went to school with Yovanovitch. We were at the Pushkin Institute in Moscow together in 1980. Is that relevant? Differences in policy outlook? That relevant? Of course not. President Trump is bad and needs to be impeached without a crime? Shut up. That's basically their answer.
I want my daughter to be able to tell her children, Grandma did the right thing, because in America, no one is above the law.
Then charge him with a crime.
With his conduct around Ukraine, President Trump corruptly abused his power for his own interests at direct odds with our national welfare and our Constitution.
Then charge him with a crime.
This president put his interests before those of this nation. Left unchecked, he'd do it again, and had said so.
Then charge him with a crime.
The actions and ongoing schemes that led us to this moment are severe threats to our national security and democracy that we cannot defend or dismiss.
Then charge him with a crime.
With history watching, I must fulfill my constitutional duty.
Then charge him with a crime.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today, the House is voting to affirm a conservative principle. What makes America the strongest and most prosperous nation in the world is our reverence for the rule of law.
Then charge him with a crime.
It is our love of the law that protects our freedoms, our private property, our families from the exercise of arbitrary power.
Then charge him with a crime. Okay, we've been looking at the House impeachment strategy for some time. And we're basically in the rotunda now, waiting for the bill to cross through the rotunda and into the Senate. What we're going to look at is an analogy with spoofing a router on the internet. In other words, sending a message to the wrong place intentionally to plant some malware. These are the basic tactics, and this is basically what it looks like. The spoofed message traffic would come in over the orange line. Orange was the color of poison in ancient Rome, for those of you who know history to that extent. And you try to put the message on the wrong path. Label something that should be on B as if it belongs on path A, or vice versa. And hopefully you get a dumb router that was built a long time ago and hasn't had much precedent for the programmers to update the system yet. And you get through and get what you want. Human systems have routing protocols too, and people try to breach them. Think of a mailroom. Letters come in properly addressed, and other criteria for evaluation are right. The letters get passed on. If they're not properly addressed, then they get kicked back. And the Senate has a firewall like that too. This bill doesn't meet a qualification of X, Y, and Z. It has to go back. Here we take the same lines and the same basic ideas, and we just apply it to the human system. The mailroom is, for the sake of argument, the rotunda. Point is, if you have an impeachment bill, it should charge a crime. If it's going to just be charging something political, not an established crime, then it should be subjected to regular order. I I don't know if I have the terms exactly right. Well, the terms of art, I suppose they would be. But they're close enough, and people who know the terms of art can substitute the terms of art for the ones that I use. That's perfectly acceptable. This is a group effort. Let me leave you the point that we're making without any further comment. Let me add one point in here. It's been kind of interesting to re-listen to the arguments for introducing slander and hearsay as evidence while upholding the rule of law and the Constitution is the goal of the Democrats. I mean, they sound like communists. They really do. But since they never really studied communism, then most of them, I would imagine, except maybe McGovern, maybe he just picked it up by osmosis. You know what I mean? Are you going to be that stupid to absolutely trash the concept of the rule of law and Senate rules and say you're upholding the Constitution? Well, that's what they're doing. That's what communists do. Okay, I lied. I have some more to say. Remember the bait and switch and my question, who'd be so gullible as to believe a bait and switch? And let's remember what the bait is. Here are the crimes that were alleged, any of which, if true and charged, would hit Plan B at the Senate and go into non-regular or special order. So the politicians on the Democratic side, Nadler, Schiff, and friends, make the mistake of starting with, this will be a bill of impeachment, which gets everybody thinking, oh good, special order. Special order. Well, not everybody was thinking, oh good, but they were thinking special order. And then they went through all of their witnesses at the Intel Committee and the Judiciary Committee, and the best proof of anything that they could actually find was in one fact witness who said, but the president said he wants nothing. He wants no quid pro quo. That's their fact witness. Okay, now they gotta go with the political charges, and that's the switch. Here, let's show you the bait and then the switch. All of these require a special order. And all of these, what you're left with is the switch, and it requires regular order at best. If you leave the header on as impeachment, you're actually misleading the Senate. I don't think Nadler, Schiff, or any of the less tired lawyers on their committees really stopped to think about the issue of their sending a bill that was fraudulently titled over to the Senate and expecting the Senate to accept it and pursue special order. Despite everything that's happened over the years, I'd still like to think that Nadler is not a knife-sharpening evildoer, but is just rather very stupid and knows a lot of words and has a better vocabulary than mine. Can I say that? Have a nice day.